Hey, welcome back. First things first, I finally bought a nice microphone. Look at this thing. Oh my god. Actually, I can't really move it because now this sounds weird, but it's like a real microphone. Look, it's so heavy. I think they add weight to it to make it seem more professional. But I don't know. It's that Blue Yeti thing that everybody has. Looks pretty cool though. I like how it looks. I need to get one of those like arm things that like brings the mic right to your face so that I could just whisper to you and then you can hear me. But I'm happy. It seems to work well. And the other mic was like so frustrating. It was like all crackly and I hated it. Anyway, today, so when I first started doing the vlogs, the idea was like take a topic that you talked about in the Let's Play and just do the vlog about it. And so that's what I'm going to do today, because this is what I'm saying, like if you help me get a girlfriend, I don't have to talk about politics. I don't think I would. Like, so this is your fault. The dating stuff is going bad and nobody talks to me. My therapist recommended that I volunteer, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to, this week I'm going to figure out where to volunteer. So I'll keep you posted on that. I'll keep you posted. Today we're going to talk about guns. Yay! I've never talked about this topic, I don't think. I talk about it in the Let's Play this week, so I'm going to definitely repeat myself, but something horrible happened, as it happens every week. A mass shooting. It was interesting that I think it was the interview with the Texas governor, or just like he had a press conference, where I felt like that specific kind of political hate that sometimes you feel. And I remember, like, I try to stay away from politics because I don't like that feeling. And the last time I felt it, I remember, you can watch on this channel, I got very, like, indignant about Trump when the day after the election, he like, at midnight, he went on TV and he's like, I won. And now they're saying I didn't win, but I did. And I remember recording a video, like, the day after that and being like, God, I hate this guy. And I don't like that feeling. Which is why I try to stay away from politics. I don't want to feel hatred. Doesn't feel right. And Greg Abbott, he said, what did he say? He was like, oh, this could have been worse. Like, wow, that's awful. And it was kind of weirdly coincidental. A long time ago, I started reading the Federalist Papers. I got through about like 30 or 40 of them. And then I stopped because it's just like, it's a lot of information. And then I just started reading like whatever book. But a couple weeks ago I started, or maybe last week, I started listening to it again. And obviously the Federalist Papers, I mean, I'm biased because it's like the only history thing I've ever read. But it's like, other than the Constitution, it's one of the most important, seems to me, one of the most important, like, documentation that we have. It's one of the most important documents we have because the Constitution, sometimes it's not very long. It doesn't say a lot of stuff. Second Amendment is like a sentence. But we got this whole thing right here from the guy who freaking wrote the Bill of Rights. James Madison and Hamilton, the people who helped construct the Constitution. So, like, we know kind of what they thought about it. And I was looking to see, like, what did James Madison say about the Second Amendment after he wrote it? And I couldn't really find anything. But at least we know what he thought before he wrote it. He's writing this book. And we know what... so the one that I was looking at was Federalist number 46. Oh, and I opened right to it. That's the one that Madison wrote. And Madison wrote the Second Amendment. So let's start with... I mean, what I always thought, and what I what I think is kind of taught just like through the zeitgeist is the Second Amendment is the right for everybody in America to bear arms against the government, like coming into your house and being like, pay us taxes, and you're like, I'm gonna shoot you, no. And that's what the Second Amendment is for. And I kind of like that idea, like, and it's kind of cool to think that the founding fathers were like, well, what if we suck? Well, say that the citizens can shoot us. Oh, okay. If we suck, kill us. Cool. That's kind of cool. And that's what I thought it was, and that's what most people think. And the more I read this thing and the Constitution, obviously, I don't know anything. I mean, I was terrible at history class. It was my least favorite class, but I've been liking it, reading history more than I get older. The more I get older, I like it more. It's interesting, these people. Because Hamilton, when he wrote this, I mean, he was like 40 years old or something. I don't know. He's like, it's like, when you're a kid, it's like, oh, these old people. But it's like, you read this and it's like, wow, I don't know. I mean, I respect these people a lot because they wanted to get it right. They really put a lot of thought into it, into writing the Constitution. And they just fought a war to write their own Constitution. And they're like, okay, now we got to actually get it right, okay? We're not going to be England 2. We're going to be a new thing that's awesome. And that's why we killed all those people, so that we could do this. So Madison wrote Federalist 46, and Hamilton wrote Federalist 29. And they're both about 29. Where's 29? 29 is about the regulation of the militia. 46 is about state and federal powers compared. So when I was reading it last week, I got to number 46, and it talks about the militia. So let's read the Second Amendment. In case you don't know, I mean, everybody knows it probably, but... So here's it. It's not very long. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And Madison wrote that, so let's also... I didn't, highlight anything, but, Okay, so let's read the summary at the end of number 46. On summing up the considerations stated in this and the last paper, they seem to amount to the most convincing evidence that the powers proposed to be lodged in the federal government are as little formidable to those reserved to the individual states as they are indispensably necessary to accomplish the purposes of the Union, and that all those alarms which have been sounded of a meditated and consequential annihilation of the state governments must on the most favorable interpretation be ascribed to the chimerical fears of the authors of them. Okay, I mean, it's not specifically about the Second Amendment, but okay, screw it. I'm just gonna go to Wikipedia and look at their summary. Because it separates it by the different... Okay, military and militia. Okay, this is a... Here's an excerpt that Wikipedia takes from number 46 about the militia. Extravagant as the supposition is, let it however be made, let a regular army fully equal to the resources of the country be formed, and let it be entirely at the devotion of a federal government. Still, it would not be going too far to say that the state governments with the people on their side would be able to repel the danger, the highest number to which, according to the best computation, a standing army can be carried in any country does not exceed 1/100th part of the whole, blah, blah, blah. She's talking about how many. To these would be opposed militia amounting to near 500,000 of citizens with arms to hands. So here he's just saying that the state militia... Okay, I'm just going to sum it up. Besides the advantage of being armed, which the Americans possess over the people of most every other nation, the existence of subordinate governments to which the people are attached and by which militia officers are appointed forms a barrier against the enterprises of ambition more insurmountable than any which a simple government of any form can admit to. Notwithstanding the militia establishments in the several kingdoms of Europe. Okay, it's pretty long. But, okay. So here's my interpretation of what, and then maybe we can go to what Hamilton said in number, but I think it's basically the same thing. Okay, sorry, I got a little sidetracked reading the text. It's just read Federalist number 46 and number 29. And I still have a lot to learn about this stuff, obviously, but when you hear the political people on TV argue, it's just like blah, blah, blah. They don't talk about like anything interesting. It's just like, bear arms, no. And then they just yell at each other. And who cares? Like, and I have to obviously always preface this by saying, like, I'm not like, there are some people who are like, the Constitution is like the Bible, and you have to interpret it like literally and the letter of it. And I'm like, who cares? Let's change the laws. Let's amend the Constitution. George Washington died because his doctors drained his blood. Like, the people of the time, maybe they weren't, I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of respect for these people, the founding fathers, what they did. But even they were like, change it. Like, you got to change it. It's got to be a living thing. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in 1776. Constitution's important. This is important. But it's also 300 years old, so. Sorry, that was a lot of just rambling. The point of this is my position now on the Second Amendment, and obviously that's what I'm doing here, right? I'm just coming up with, I don't even know what I think about this stuff. I never talked to anybody ever about guns, the Second Amendment. I've literally never talked to anybody, so now it's the first time, and we're saying what we think. A lot of what you hear now is like, Second Amendment right to bear arms. The more I read the Federalist Papers and understand the Constitution a little bit better, the Second Amendment was created, and we just kind of read a little bit about it, for states to organize a militia, a well-regulated militia, to defend themselves against the federal government coming into their state and telling them what to do. That's why the Federalist Papers were created, to defend the Constitution against the Articles of Confederation. Because the Constitution strengthened the federal government more than the Articles of Confederation. And so people were afraid, like, well, if we strengthen the federal government, they're going to be, like, coming in with their armies, and they're going to be, like, monarchies. And Hamilton, Madison, Johnny J., except Johnny J. didn't really write that much, but they were like, no, a strong, connecting the Union with a strong central government is better than having like these loose confederations like fending for themselves. And so one of the arguments against the Constitution is like, well, if the federal government is going to have this huge army, then they could just tell the states what to do. And like, we're Virginia, we want to do our Virginia thing. So they added an amendment. Madison wrote it, and I guess when he was writing the Constitution, he didn't make this specific enough, so he wrote a Second Amendment. And he said, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, New Jersey. The right of that militia to bear arms against the federal government. I mean, I've even before I was doing this, like, guns are bad. I mean, I'm giving away the game there, but it's just like, I don't like guns. Take them all away. I don't care. Um, but but when you hear like, oh, the Second Amendment, everybody in the world needs to have guns. Everybody in America. I don't think the founding fathers wanted that. I don't think Hamilton wanted that, or Madison. They they didn't want. I mean, if everybody has an assault weapon, it's anarchy, right? They don't want anarchy. And they were not in favor of anarchy. I think if you had asked them, like, do you think everybody should have guns? They'd be like, no, you need to have organized militias trained. And that's kind of what Federalist 29 talks about. Hamilton's like, you got to train your army. Like, every state needs to train an army. And we don't really do that. So I was looking it up a little bit. The National Guard is technically a state militia, but it's also kind of a federal army. I think that's the closest thing we have to... But I think the idea of the Second Amendment is like, if the federal government comes into New York and goes to Albany with their soldiers and is like, pay us more taxes to the federal government, New York can raise up an army of civilians and give them guns and be like, we're going to train you to fight back. And what they say in the Federalist Papers is like, there's going to be a lot more civilians in New York than the federal government has, so you don't have to worry. And then another part of Federalist 46 is Madison's like, once one state sees that the federal government's coming in, the other states are going to be like, oh, we need to have an army. So they're going to build up their army, and they could send support to New York because they don't want the federal government to come in to New Jersey next. That's the idea of bearing arms. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's like, but they don't really teach you this stuff. I didn't really know anything. I mean, I wasn't listening in school anyway. But even like, it's frustrating because the politicians, they don't teach you this. They just like yell out like sentences like, bear arms, or don't, like gun control. What does that mean? What's good? What's bad? I think there were some good ideas that I saw, like raise the age limit from 18 to 21, because everybody in the past like 10 shootings was under 21. So, I mean, I would raise it to 25, 26, but whatever. You have to have a psych evaluation before you buy a gun. You have to register your gun. You have to have a gun license. You have to wait a month. Like, okay, like, that's good. And then you do like gun buyback programs, which show that they work. Like, you pay people to get their guns. And by doing that, you're not... There's no interpretation, I don't think. I mean, obviously I'm an idiot. I don't know. But like, that you're violating the Second Amendment by doing any of that. You can still organize a militia if you want, if you're a state. If Joe Biden comes to your door with a tank, tell your neighbor and tell Albany to organize a militia. Let's fight this guy. Hey, what are you doing here? Get out. Not in my backyard, Joe. I don't know. So was that fun? When we talk about things, it's nice to not get caught up in the beginning. I mentioned like that hate of like Greg Abbott being like blah blah blah, and then Beto O'Rourke is like, he's just expressing the anger that everybody else is feeling, but he's not really saying anything. He's just being like, this is your fault, and we're like, yeah, but okay, whatever. It's not satisfying to see any of those arguments. It's kind of funny to read this book and think like, well, Donald Trump's never... he's like, do you imagine Donald Trump sitting down and reading this book? So it's kind of cool that, like, you read something, you know more history than Donald Trump, which is, like, I mean, it's not saying much, but there's no way he's read this. Yeah, thanks, Dalton, for your comments again this week. Ariel commented, maybe last week. So when I do my Let's Plays, sometimes I just directly talk to Dalton, like, hey, Dalton, what do you think about this? And it's kind of funny, but also I should probably stop doing that because I think Ariel kind of, like, watches once in a while, but she doesn't comment. So it is alienating to just be like, I shouldn't do that. I was going to stop doing that. But I could just say, hey, Dalton and Ariel. I mean, those are the only two people, probably. Nobody came from the podcast. It's fine. Whatever. So hopefully, I don't know. I don't want to do, like, an informational video every week, but... Because, like, I have no idea what I'm talking about. But the reason why I did that was for me to feel better about, like, what I understand about this argument, and for me to be able to, like, defend my position if anybody's like, which is never gonna happen, but if someone's like, you're bad, like, why do you hate guns or something? I don't know. Why do you hate abortion? Why do you hate gay marriage? Why do you like gay marriage? I need to talk. Blah, 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 blah. And this is the only place where I talk. This is not really a thing that I could talk with my therapist about. So if I don't talk to my therapist about it, I don't talk to my parents about it, I never talk about it. And I want to know what I think, and how I process these things is interesting to me. I wanted to keep developing my opinion about things and keep learning. And that makes me feel good about myself. Like, oh, I have an opinion, and I know about James Madison a little bit. Makes me feel good. And I hope it was interesting. You got a little bit. And maybe it made you feel a little bit less, like, anxiety about, like, I'll fight. Ooh, guns, no guns. Blah. Because kids, Jesus Christ, we didn't even talk about the thing of 10-year-old kids. I mean, it's too awful to talk about, and that's why I'm not talking about it. I don't want to think about it. And if I had kids that were going to school, I mean, why do I want to have kids again? Why do I want to get married? That sounds like hell. You have to send your kids to a school every day where, oh, God. I can't do it. I'm just going to sit in here and read my books. Oh, Alexander Hamilton, tell us what to do. Oh. I guess I'll see you tomorrow. And, yeah, I hope you have a good week. And you don't let the world get you down. I don't know. The world got me down this week. It's not a good week for the world. What are you gonna do? I don't know. All you can say is, I'll see you tomorrow.